Friends, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not difficult for you, but it's nice for me, and we're starting. When I walked in the door, my wife was excited. She ran up to me and kissed me warmly in greeting, and then turned to go to the kitchen and finish cooking dinner. I made your favorite dinner tonight. I have important news, and I thought we could celebrate it. That's great, honey, I replied. I have some important news too. Maybe we can have a double celebration. It was Friday evening, and the work week was over. While she was finishing up in the kitchen, I went into the bedroom to take a shower and change into casual clothes. Since I didn't have to work tomorrow, I was looking forward to a long night of making love with my wife. I had important news that I'm sure she should be very excited about. I was dizzy with anticipation of hearing her news and then telling her mine. I'm Larry Dawes. My wife's name is Sheila. We have been married for 7 years, and we are both 30 years old. I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall, weigh 210 pounds, give or take a pound or two depending on the specific day, and I'm in pretty good shape. Although I'm not a heartthrob, I've been told more than once that I look above average. I've also been told that I'm a little above average in size, if you know what I'm getting at. Sheila is 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighs about 110 pounds. She is also in very good shape. We both work out at the gym. She has long blonde hair, brown eyes, 36 centimeters breasts, and an amazing ass. I was pretty sure I knew what her news was. Recently, we started trying to grow our family. She stopped taking birth control pills a few months ago, and we've been making love like rabbits ever since. Don't get me wrong, we weren't celibate before. On average, we met about 3 times a week after the first year of marriage. Before that, it was almost every night. Since she stopped taking the pills, we've been making love more often again. The only times it was postponed were the days when I had to leave town. I didn't travel much for work. I was usually in my office by 7 a.m. and left work at 5 p.m. I am a mechanical engineer. My schedule only changes when I need to go to a conference or seminar. This happens about once a quarter. A couple of months ago, I was promoted to engineering manager, so I had 5 junior engineers, 3 technical specialists, and a couple of secretaries reporting to me. I also had my own personal secretary. Sheila works as a paralegal at a small law firm in the city. She was one of 3 paralegals in an office with 5 lawyers. Her schedule is almost as regular as mine. Her only change is when problems arise from time to time, and she needs to work a little later in the evening. After showering and changing, I got to the kitchen just as Sheila was setting the table. She did her best tonight. I suspected that she had taken the afternoon off to prepare for tonight. She made chicken scallops, a wonderful Caesar salad, and garlic bread. She even made tiramisu for dessert. She uncorked a couple of bottles of really good Merlot. Her news was obviously something impressive. I was really looking forward to our conversation today. I also noticed that she had dressed up for the occasion. She was wearing one of the shortest, beautiful dresses with a low neckline, cleavage, and exposed legs. It looked like she was looking forward to a wild and passionate night too. After dinner and dessert, I helped clear the table and tidy up the kitchen. We filled our glasses with wine and retired to the living room to tell each other the good news. We were sitting on the couch, sipping wine and, as usual, discussing who would go first. She was so happy that I wonder how she could hold back for so long. To be honest, I expected it to just burst out spontaneously. We did it, honey. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. She practically screamed. It's amazing. Seeing my joy at this news, she rushed into my arms and kissed me passionately. We kissed hard and hugged each other, letting the joy overwhelm us. Finally, she pulled away and asked me what news I had. I was almost as excited about my news as she was about hers. With a big smile and an excited look, I told her the good news. My secretary, Josette, is pregnant too. Since she is not married and does not want to raise a child alone, we decided that she would just give her child to us for upbringing. It will be like they are twins. Since you and Josette will be giving birth at about the same time, they will actually be twins in every way except on the mother's side. Since I'm a father, it won't be a custody issue, especially since she's more than willing to sign a consent form for my custody. All she wants is to be the most beloved aunt for the child. We'll probably have to explain this to him or her when he or she is old enough to understand and accept it, but it shouldn't be a problem. I happily explained this to my wife. Strangely enough, I noticed a rather serious lack of happiness on my wife's face at this news. In fact, she seemed to be angry. She has just informed me that our family will increase, and I have just informed her that this increase will double. I thought that her happiness would also be doubled by my news. Instead, it seemed that happiness had not only completely evaporated, but had completely turned into extreme hostility. I was genuinely amazed. The look of extreme tension on her face made me pause to tell the rest of my news. Then I decided that she should know, and it might turn her from upset back to happy. Her first ultrasound examination also showed that she has twins. Although it is too early to determine the gender, there is a fairly high probability that at least one of them is a girl. Just think, you can have the little girl you've always dreamed of, and I can have a little boy. Whoever you give birth to, it will be a bonus. We'll immediately have the big family you've always dreamed of. I didn't understand what was going on here. Instead of being overjoyed by the news, she only seemed to get angrier. It didn't take long for the explosion to happen. By comparison, Hiroshima looked like a failed firecracker. You're a fucking fool. Did you cheat on me with that fucking fool in your office? What kind of idiotic thoughts are you having in your head if you ever believe that I would even consider raising this fool's illegitimate children? Are you out of your fucking mind? Everything went downhill. For the next half hour, she screamed at me every insult that ever existed. I think she even managed to create some new ones. It didn't even come close to how I imagined it. I was already beginning to think that my night of passionate lovemaking would not take place. Still, it didn't stop me. Honey, how about we go into the bedroom and celebrate our shared good news? I am sure that after a night of passionate lovemaking, we will understand much better what our life will be like with 3 new children added to our loving family. I was surprised that she not only fiercely rejected me, but also had the audacity to actually try to kick me out of my own bed. Well, if she didn't want to sleep with me, she could have found another bed to sleep in. In the end, in a fit of rage, she grabbed the pillows and rushed into the spare bedroom. To be honest, I was confused by her attitude. Well, since I felt like I hadn't done anything wrong, I turned over and slept peacefully the whole night. The next morning, I unsuccessfully tried to lure my wife into our bed to make love. She was irrationally angry at me. I just couldn't understand her problems. Seeing that she was just being unreasonable, I decided to take advantage of a good day and go play golf. It was a phenomenal day. I managed to hook up with a threesome. One guy, his wife and sister. We had a great time. I made a bet with my wife's unmarried sister, and I won the bet. I managed to pass 2 at par. 3 hours after the end of the round, I left her house, filling all 3 of her holes. I was surprised when I got home that my garage door opener wasn't working. It was weird. I turned off the engine and went to the front door. Strangely, I saw several suitcases stacked on the front porch. Not knowing what it was, I ignored them. When I reached for the door handle, I found that the front door was locked. However, this was not too surprising. What was strange was that my key didn't fit the locks. Looking more closely at the locks, I noticed that they seemed brand new. Strangely, Sheila never mentioned that she needed new locks on the doors. Anyway, I was hot and tired and I needed to get inside, take a shower and change my clothes. Being a practical person, I just took a saw out of the car and cut the door around the door handle and deadbolt. As soon as the door handle and the deadbolt were separated from the rest of the door swung open freely. I made a note to go to Lowe's and buy a new front door. When I entered the house, Sheila started another tirade. It was like I was moving and my clothes were packed in suitcases outside. When I heard that, I went out and carried the suitcases back to my bedroom. When I opened the suitcases, I really saw that all my clothes were in them. It took me a few minutes to replace everything in the right drawers and cupboards. While she continued to rant, I undressed and turned on the shower. Her rant intensified a bit when she noticed the smell and moisture from Keisha on me. Seriously? I didn't understand her problem. Of course, I used Keisha, but it was just a one-time connection. A one-day meeting. It was just love. I barely knew her. I invited Sheila to join me in the shower, but she flatly rejected my offer. She apparently had some psychological problems that she might need to solve. I can try to raise this issue later this evening and offer some consultations. After a nice shower, I went to the bedroom to change my clothes. To my surprise, I found Sheila in the process of packing all her clothes into recently emptied suitcases. To a simple question, she exclaimed that since I refused to move, she would do it. While I was in the shower, she apparently called her sister and arranged to stay with her. My suggestion that pregnancy had messed up her hormones and caused her to react strangely to what was happening was met with excessive anger. I had no doubt that this was the real reason for her strange behavior. I was sure that as soon as she had a baby and when my twins from my secretary were at home, she would be a great mother to all 3 children. To be honest, I was confused by her reaction. An hour later, she left. A couple of days later, I moved Josette to my house. She would need some support during her pregnancy, and since Sheila was no longer here, it seemed like the right thing to do. After all, the twins were mine. Sheila shouldn't have had any trouble understanding the lack of love with her husband. I even had Keisha a few times. Usually it was one-on-one, but sometimes there was a threesome with Josette and Keisha. I was handed the divorce papers a week after Sheila left. She asked for a house, 18 years of alimony, 90% of our savings and investments, and $1,500 a month for child support. In short, she fully complied with our prenuptial agreement, its infidelity clause. We have introduced this as a rather severe punishment for treason. Yes, I knew about it. Yes, I used both Josette and Keisha. Yes, all of you reading this believe that I am a bastard and deserve to be burned. Yes, laugh all you want. 3 months later. What the fuck? That was my wife, Sheila. It was our first meeting with the lawyers. We were at her lawyer's office discussing the issues of our divorce. Our prenuptial agreement was designed to make infidelity painful, very painful. The fact that I impregnated my secretary and I wasn't particularly delicate about using Keisha also gave her the perfect weapon to use me harshly. There was only one small problem. Are you really sure you want to go down this path, Sheila? You cheated on me. Your secretary got pregnant by you. And you had the audacity to think that I would want to raise this cheater's children. All right, Sheila. Right here, right now, I'm offering a one-time offer. We cancel the divorce, get back together and raise all 3 children as our own. We forget about the past and come back to each other. Our 3 children will be ours alone. Yes, Josette will become the twins' favorite aunt. But that's the end of it. You will be a loving mother to all 3 of them, and I will be a loving father. We may even have more children. It's your choice. Yes or no. I've made my offer. Fuck you. I absolutely will not raise any of your illegitimate children with this cheater. I looked at my lawyer and nodded my head. She returned my nod. Unfortunately, my wife did not hire the meanest, most cruel, hungry, and vicious shark on the planet. Fortunately, I did it. Now you've probably come to the conclusion that I'm a bastard who cheated on his wife. I can see how your mouth is watering at the thought of me being burned to the ground. Hold on to your seatbelts. My lawyer opened her briefcase with a smile that reminded me of a barracuda about to go berserk. Since your client refused my client's generous offer, here is our new offer, she said, shifting the papers across the table. It took Sheila and her lawyer several minutes to read and understand the document. It was then that Sheila allowed the above-mentioned outburst of anger. When Sheila's expression changed from arrogant to panicked, I swear Lilith, my lawyer, licked her lips and sucked in saliva. Yes, she was really angry. Sheila's lawyer turned to face her. This expression was one of utter panic. DNA analysis? Sheila stuttered. Of course. Another nod from Lilith, and she took out an audio recorder. She put it on the table and pressed the button. So, how will you make sure that it will be my child and not Cooksa? The voice on the recording belonged to Jason West, one of the lawyers at the firm where Sheila worked. No problem, Sheila replied. I always use my diaphragm when I make love to him. Besides, you look enough like my husband that he'll never find out he's raising your child. Good. Let him raise my child properly. I'm not going to pay for children or deal with them. I really like the idea of having a child to whom I will eventually be able to pass on my inheritance, but it should be after he grows up. When the child turns 18, we will be able to tell who the real father is. This way, I won't have to pay a penny to grow it. Trust me. Larry will never know until we tell him ourselves in 18 years. Then it will be too late. By then, Larry and I will have several more children together, and there's nothing he can do about it without being completely screwed up. So, are you sure your husband won't find out about us? We've been having an affair for the last 3 years, and he had no idea. You look so much like him that any of our children will look close enough, and he will never suspect that it is not his. It's going to be all right. Sheila's expression when the recording was played back was priceless. Lilith then issued a DNA verification request for her fetus. She also submitted a petition for alimony from Jason West. I asked for $2,000 a month. He was a pretty successful lawyer. So, since your client declined the last offer, here is a new offer. This, of course, will require a subsequent agreement signed by both sides. The divorce will end, and the couple will remain married until the last child graduates from high school. This is the minimum. If they jointly decide to stay married, they will be free to do so. The subsequent agreement will include the terms of the prenuptial agreement, but with some changes. First, the marriage becomes an open marriage in which my client can make love to other women if he informs his wife about it before the date begins. The wife is also allowed to make love with other partners on the same terms. I watched as Sheila's face turned completely white. She was absolutely shocked that her affair had been revealed. Lilith turned on her shark smile and continued. If your client declines this offer, we are fully prepared to ensure compliance with the prenuptial agreement on our part. Her affair began 3 years before my client's affair. In fact, he entered into his affair only after he had fully documented his wife's infidelity and her desire to have a child with another man. If she wants to continue the divorce process, she must be prepared for the fact that she will be homeless, penniless, and all her friends and relatives will be provided with graphic videos of her making love with another man. We are fully prepared to go for total destruction. She looked at me and nodded for me to continue. Sheila, you wanted me to raise another man's child. While the child inside you is an innocent victim of your betrayal of me, I will not be financially responsible for him. What I will be ready to do is to accept the child into our home as a stepson, provided that his father becomes financially responsible. He will pay a monthly allowance for his child, pay for medical insurance, medical bills, and education. Although I seriously doubt that he will want to visit the child, it will be available to him. He will also pay for his child's college tuition. Otherwise, I will be a father to the child, as if he were my own. That's the price this bastard pays for his actions. He said he didn't want to take responsibility for the child, but that's exactly what he would get. Your price for betrayal will be to raise my children as your own. They will be your children in every way except biological. The only people who will know that they are not biologically yours are the people in this room and Josette. Did you think it would be fun for me to raise another man's child? Well, now you can laugh while raising another woman's children. You will also be glad to see Josette at our house when she wants to visit the children. This is your repentance. Do you dare to try to divorce me because of love with another woman, while you had a long-term affair with another man? How hypocritical of you. My affair began only after I found out about your betrayal. I heard you were planning to have another man's child. 18.5 years later. You mean Aunt Josie really is? Audrey stammered. But what about Uncle Dan? Andy asked. Yes, Josette had twins. Audrey was born a minute before Andy. Lenny, Sheila's son, had arrived 3 days earlier. There were a lot of surprised faces when we introduced the triplets to all our friends and family. In the end, everyone finally accepted it. There were some curious comments about where Audrey and Andy's red hair came from. Damn recessive genes. No, Uncle Dan came later. Your Aunt Josette got pregnant when she was single, and she thought you two would be better off with a family. We were close friends, and I agreed to adopt the two of you, since at that time, as a single parent, she was unable to raise you. By the time she met and married Uncle Dan, it would have caused too much heartache to change anything. Now that you two know the truth, you need to understand that Mom and I really love you as our own children. Nothing has changed in this regard. Also keep in mind that your mom has her own family. You will always have a special place in their hearts, but that doesn't change the fact that we are all family here. I concluded. They were smart kids. They understood. Did we really need to tell them? Maybe, maybe not. There are strong arguments on both sides. We decided that they should know, and we told them. We also told Lenny that I wasn't his biological father. It was a little different. He had never met this asshole. This asshole tried to challenge the paternity claim, but DNA is DNA. He tried not to pay, but the judges get a little annoyed when you try to ignore their decisions. Judges also have so-called sheriff's deputies who can visit people in their homes and offices. Oh, all this nonsense about an open marriage? I patted Keisha a couple more times, and Josette and I continued our affair for about a year before she met Dan. As for Sheila, I'm pretty sure she never indulged her desires. Nevertheless, I was watching her closely. After Josette and I ended our affair, I didn't do it anymore. I figured Sheila had learned her lesson, but I'd start over if I found out she was having another affair. As far as I could tell, she didn't do it, and I watched pretty closely. Besides, she started trying to use me to death to make sure I didn't need anyone but her. It also worked both ways. Jason West disappeared shortly after Larry's 18th birthday. After he opened a college funding account for Lenny, we offered to visit him, but Jason didn't want to. There were rumors that he had moved to the East Coast. According to more reliable rumors, he was now about 5 miles east of the coast. Of course, this rumor was known only to a select few people. Yes, I was a patient person when it came to payback. He couldn't have missed these child support payments and the college fund. As for Sheila and me, what can I say? It's been 19 years since our little problem. I did my due diligence and found nothing. She really turned into a good wife and mother. I'm thinking about retiring early after the kids leave home. Some people will say I'm a wimp for taking her back. Yes, I could burn it to the ground, but what would that do for me? Who knows, maybe Josette and I could be together. This is a controversial issue. I had no problems raising another man's child. Of course, I was his father, but I look at it differently. Jason paid for his upbringing. I took the opportunity to make sure that the child was properly raised and did not become another asshole. I also forced my wife to raise another woman's children. It was a constant reminder to her that I was using another woman and she got pregnant. She also knew that while her lover had to pay for his child, she was paying for Josette's children. My time with Sheila also ensured that our 3 children grew up in a loving home with both parents. This is much more important than what everyone else thinks of me.